So Daniel Warren Johnson, the mastermind behind the first 12 and upcoming 12 issues of Transformers Skybound, has just had his newest comic release titled The Moon is Following Us. Now, when I first heard about this new series, I was all in. Anything from Daniel Warren Johnson is bound to be a blast after reading what he's done with the Transformers. Now, I'm not familiar with his previous work, but that's mainly because, historically speaking, I'm not a big comic book guy actually. But then I saw the cover for issue number 1 of this new series, and I was hyped. It was brimming with creativity and possibilities. Along with that first cover came a synopsis for the plot, which read, "The Moon is Following Us revolves around a couple named Sam and Duncan Lamar. When their daughter is kidnapped by a mysterious force known as the Cascade, Sam and Duncan will fight alongside a group of magical beings to bring her back by any means necessary." Once again, with this artwork in hand and the plot synopsis in mind, I was down to jump in on September 18th. Sadly, I missed the opportunity to grab a copy of the premiere issue, but that's because it was selling out everywhere. Daniel Warren Johnson had done it again. Second printings were starting up, and I decided to purchase the comic digitally because I just couldn't wait any longer. And after reading the first issue, I gotta say, I was impressed. Now, I should be honest here. Halfway through the first few pages of issue 1, I looked away from my screen and thought, huh? What? What on earth is going on? There's a frog guy smoking a cigar? Tire people are trying to kill the protagonists? There's a bat who uses their wings as a trench coat to hide illegal weapons? Okay, that last one's pretty cool. But safe to say, I was really kind of put off, actually. The artwork in this issue is fantastic, don't get me wrong, but the constant use of fantasy and sci-fi and other things was really throwing me off. I was getting a little frustrated as there was almost nothing for me to latch onto as a way of discerning what type of world this was. Everything was just so consistently weird. And it continued to be weird, right up until the final few pages of the comic, where it all started to make sense. If you're at all interested in this comic, then here's a timestamp to skip the spoiler section. I really do think you should go in blind into this comic if you're interested. Just know it's gonna be weird. Okay, spoiler time. Samantha and Duncan, our two protagonists, are trying to save their daughter from certain doom, and they do so by adventuring through a fairy tale land with insane creatures and absurd powers. All this is possible because their daughter is in what seems to be a coma. Sam and Duncan are somehow entering into their daughter's imagination through some serious-looking technology out in the real world to try and rescue her. So obviously this explains a lot. Why there is a frogman with a cigar. His name is Brio, by the way. The bat with a winged trench coat. They call him Pigface. In fact, Penny, Sam and Duncan's daughter, has a little frog stuffed animal wearing a crown in her bed, as well as a stuffed gnome who is obviously Tash in her imagination, this kind of wizard character. We get to see the inside of this girl's imagination as her parents rush to save her from being lost forever. This concept actually means a lot to me. Years ago, when I was in college studying film, one of my end-of-year projects was for everyone in my class to write a film. Now, I'm a horrible writer, and yet somehow my script was chosen to be made into a short film. That script followed two estranged sisters as they entered their dying father's memories of when they were a family. Now, keep in mind, we were all poor college students, so these memory-imagination hybrids were pretty simple. A beach where everyone was a pirate, and then a forest where the protagonists had to survive a zombie apocalypse. The zombies were off camera, of course, due to budgetary reasons. A few years after I graduated, I actually went back to the idea and rewrote the script to have the father and his estranged daughter dive into the imaginations of the younger child's mind, as that made a little more sense for the story. The script was never that big, and nothing really ever happened to it. It's just a piece of personal lore that I have. So when I read the reveal in this comic, it kind of hit home for me. It's an idea that I've thought of before, but man, to see someone do it so expertly was just amazing. Am I saying Daniel Warren Johnson stole the idea from me and he owes me royalties? Of course not. Diving into someone's imagination or memories has been done plenty of times in media, but it was just such a special moment for me personally. So with spoilers out of the way, should you read The Moon is Following Us? Well, I know that my audience on this channel is here for Transformers content, and so speaking to you all, I think that you should wait for a few more issues to release first. While the concepts and ideas in the series are really fun, I'm afraid it's a little hard to recommend to people who may only be interested in Transformers content. Now, of course, a majority of you are here for my Skybound videos, which we all know are written by Daniel Warren Johnson. So if you're a fan of his work on the Transformers comics, then yes, I would recommend the series. His artwork is as beautiful as ever, and his writing is just as efficient as always. Something I praise in the Skybound series is that he does a fantastic job efficiently using little dialogue and large emotions drawn on the page to get his point across. And nowhere is that more apparent than in The Moon is Following Us. Now, if you're not a Transformers fan, or a Darren Warren Johnson fanboy like myself, and just want to get into a new comic, then I would also say maybe wait for another issue or two to come out. I think it's still a little early to really tell where things are going, but I do know for certain that Johnson is bringing his A game. This is a series about the relationship between husband and wife as they attempt to rescue their daughter, something I am sure will resonate with older fans who have children themselves. The question asked of the reader in the first issue is quite clear. Would you save your own child no matter the cost, even if the cost is losing yourself? Well, I guess we'll just have to wait and see what the answer is for Sam and Duncan. Let me know if you guys want me to keep covering this comic and its characters on the channel, and if you've read it, what are your thoughts on the premiere issue? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.